For my midterm, I chose the cartata, Loving Kindness, Equanimity, and Caring Consciousness. The cartata's process. Dr. Jean Watson developed a nursing theory based on caring science. She had developed a philosophical foundation based on human spirit, love, sacred, caring, consciousness. But what does cartatas mean? It simply means charity by the dictionary.com dictionary. Also, to charity means me is to give back freely to others. That's how I feel what charity means. Dr. Jean Watson created the 10 caritas that founded off of her theory of human caring. She believes that nurses must embrace caring to actually understand it, or get it, in other words. Dr. Jean Watson, she was a nurse theorist, professor, as well as a recipient of 16 honorary doctorates. She also developed her own nursing theories in the 1970s. Caring science is based on love and the ethics of belonging. It's a real human connection with people. It's also a transpersonal approach. A real human connection. Connections with people with the most vulnerable moments and positive outcomes for patients. To have a true connection with people, you must be able to understand where they're coming from. One of the first aspects of this caritas is loving kindness. Loving kindness, to express that, you have to be able to have compassion, be empathetic for your patients, to be able to comfort your patients, build a trust with them, and help your patients' overall experience. It also provides positive attributes to their mental health. Almost all of the cultures today, almost everyone experiences love. Love has universal properties, also positive outcomes for our patients. Dr. Jean Watson says that we should show not only loving kindness for one another, but also for ourselves. You breathe in and out like the tide of the sea. An example of loving kindness, and a clinical example for me, I recently shared this as a post, but I was on call one night in the operating room, and it was a call for a D&E. Her mother was having a miscarriage, and it just happened to be a girl that I went to school with and that I had classes with, and I knew right away that she needed me. She told me about her infertility story and how things, they thought that they were so happy when they found out they were pregnant, and she just couldn't believe she was having a miscarriage. And she cried so much, and I remember just checking her in and being there for her, going and opening the room for her, and coming back and having that warm blanket for her and holding her hand through the process and just crying with her and grieving with her. At the time, she didn't know of my own infertility story that I was going through, and only thing I could do was cry for her and me and just be there for her and hold her hand. And it really touched her so much that she ended up writing a letter to my boss and explained to her the situation, and just really praised me for being there for her. And it was a really emotional time. I cried just thinking about it, but it was good. I'm sad that she lost her baby, but at the same time, I'm glad I was there to be there with her. My biggest example of loving kindness is the woman laying there in the bed dying. That was my grandmother. I watched her take in several people into her home, care for them as they were dying, as they were sick. She not only showed me how to care for people and how to really show love and kindness to others, but she did it in a way where if no one had, people didn't have anybody, she was their person. She brought them into her home. She loved them. She fed them. She nursed them back to health, or she stayed there with them, holding their hand until they passed away. In the picture, you see me standing beside her and my cousin, who also, he is a police officer, and he That's how he watched her, and he wants to protect others. He loves others. We both loved her dearly, and she is my picture of loving kindness. What is equanimity? Equanimity is to remain calm, hold your composure, and be even-tempered, even when things are hard, when things are coming down on you. Equanimity means being able to be aware of the situation you're in, even when it's stressful, and to be able to be even-minded, even when there's chaos all around you. You need to be open to the big moments, yet staying present without losing sight of your own judgments. In other words, don't lose your cool when you're in a tough situation. In the operating room, I have several instances that I go through tough situations where I really have to show my calmness. One here recently, in our operating room, we are only allowed to run 3 rooms past 5, and at 7 o'clock we have to go down to 1 room. Well, we can't hold rooms before 4 o'clock if it looks like before 5 o'clock. If it looks like we're going to have several running over at 3:30, I can't be like, hey, you can't go. I just have to let it play out, and I have to encourage them, please be done by 5, please try to be done by 5. Well, there was a surgeon, she had requested a 12-hour block, and it was approved for her, but I had 4 other rooms running, and I had to stop her room from running. I said, you can't run past 5 until one of these other rooms come down. I said, whenever 2 of these other rooms come down, then you can roll back. And she was very upset. She took me out into the hallway, wanted to speak to the pre-op charge nurse. We all got together, explained to her everything. Anesthesia was with us. We were like, we really can't let you roll. She's like, well, I was given a 12-hour block. And she was standing right outside of the patient's room. And I had to encourage her gently just to come, let's talk about this in another area, and come with me. We'll discuss everything. We got to the point where she calmed down, but she told me that she was going to talk to my manager and write a safe report on me. And when I spoke with my manager about the situation, she said, Christy, you did everything exactly the way you were supposed to. She's like, you did correct. She said she did wrong. She should not have showed her temper like that, especially in front of a patient. So that was me showing equanimity in the workplace. The last part of this Kartana is bringing it all together, using a caring consciousness. And that starts with self-care and recognition that comes from your own heart. And having a transpersonal relationship with patients. And that means that you go beyond just seeing the person or the individual. You take their whole self into account. Being able to care and be authentic towards the patients. And treat them with dignity and respect. And realize that they are a one-of-a-kind person, and there's a one-of-a-kind way to take for each individual. An example I have of showing a caring consciousness, I used to work in a nursing home, and some of those patients I noticed they had no one. And there was one night that I had a patient, I knew she was dying, I knew she wouldn't be here on earth long, and I went in. It was after my shift. I went ahead and clocked out. I walked out to my car, and I was like, I can't let her die alone. So I called my family and let them know that I wasn't going to be home. And I went back inside and sat with her through the night. And I held her hand, and I sang to her. And other people that I work with saw what was happening, and they knew that she was passing too. And the second shift team came in there with me, and we just held her hand, and we really had that caring conscious of seeing her as an individual and not wanting her to die alone. And we were there by her side until she passed. Caring science to me is being able to care for your patients holistically, emotionally, spiritually, physically, being there for them in their time of need, actively listening, taking care of that patient. Sometimes you may have 7 or 8 patients, and you have to treat each one individually. And to me, that really is all a part of caring science. Caring science in action is seeing the picture, the whole picture with the whole seeing the patient as the whole picture, having care for the patient as one would care for their own family, like I did with that patient in the nursing home. She had no one, and I wanted to care for her as she was my own family. That shows compassion, care for the patients, is listening to our patients and focusing on what they truly need. This concludes my midterm presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I thank you very much.